Hello everyone, this video will talk you through London, which is a case study you use as part of the Urban Issues and Challenges topic. In particular, you need to know its location and importance, as well as how urban change here has created both opportunities and challenges. So, if we start thinking about the importance of London first, we want to draw out its location. So London is located in southeast England, and the river that you can see running through the centre here is the River Thames. So originally, London was created by the Romans then as a port, and this helped London to grow. So the docks here allowed trade. But now, however, we would say, well, London is nationally important as it's the UK's wealthiest and largest capital city. In 2015, London was home to 8.6 million people. So quite a big city. One thing to note then is that the population of London is much younger than that of other cities in the UK. And it's very diverse. So less than half the population of London then are of white British origin. Okay? So taking what we know then about the background of London, we want to start to consider opportunities here versus challenge. So one great opportunity here is Notting Hill. Now Notting Hill is an example of an area that's undergone significant gentrification. So originally, this area was working class, okay? And in the 1950s, we had a lot of deprivation here, okay? That's a simple way of saying, well, people that were living in poverty. In particular, it was home to many migrants that had moved to the UK, especially from the Caribbean, and was also the scene of many race riots as well. And those riots occurred because of the poor conditions in the area. Now, however, to improve that, the area has been what we call gentrified. It's been refreshed, given a new lease of life. Homes have been improved, green spaces, new shops and services. And as a result of all of this gentrification, house prices here have risen massively. And you might be thinking, well, by how much? So in some cases, we've seen house prices rise from £11,750 all the way to £2 million in 2015. Now that's quite an increase. You might be thinking, well, what's attracted people here? With a new atmosphere, the market. Okay? So the Portobello Road Market, for example, attracts loads of people in. The Notting Hill Carnival, that attracts about 1 million people a year. Again, another huge pull for people. However, this has created some challenges. So the original residents, for example, that lived here before, have now been outpriced. That means they cannot afford to live within the area still. There's an increased sense of competition between residents. Okay? They're competing to make their home look the best. People that have been forced to live out of the area have lived there for many, many years. And for them, it's almost giving up their sense of heritage. The second big opportunity then for London is Crossrail. Okay? So this aims to reduce journey times and provide easier access then into the centre of London. Alongside that, we're going to see a 10% increase in passengers. So that's going to support commuters. And that's hopefully then going to bring in an extra 1.5 million people that will be within a 45-minute journey of central London. So we might be thinking, well, those sound like some pretty good opportunities, okay? But there is one downside then. So for areas like Reading over here, there's the potential here that we might see a 25% increase in property price. Now, that's quite a lot, isn't it? Okay. And that price is going to be driven up by the fact now that more and more commuters are going to want to live within easy distance of London, because all they have to do is use Crossrail to access central London then, where they're going to be working. Our third opportunity here then is something called urban greening, okay? And this is particularly good for London. So 47% of London is green space, okay? So that makes London then one of the greenest cities in the world. However, gardens in London are starting to be paved, okay? And that does present a challenge. It threatens the amount of green space and therefore threatens habitats of wildlife that sometimes we necessarily take for granted. So the picture you can see here is of something called the Garden Bridge. And this was an initiative that was designed to help London and bring loads of environmental and economic benefits to the city. Okay? So the whole point was it would connect one side of the Thames to the other, be covered in lots of plants, and really increase green space. However, this was cancelled in 2017. Okay? And they cancelled it in 2017 due to its economic costs. However, by this point, it had already cost the taxpayer £40 million. Okay, I'll let you decide for yourself whether you think that was an opportunity for London. The last thing then to consider, okay, is inequality. Okay, so one good thing that we can say about London is, well, it is the wealthiest city in the UK. So in theory, there should be lots of money here to invest in things like development. However, in London currently, we have 2 million people living in poverty. That means without basic access to things that sometimes necessarily we take for granted. So things like a job, for example. Things like being able to eat when you want to eat. Okay? Urban sprawl here has also put London under massive amounts of pressure. So London is growing by about 100,000 people a year. Okay? We might think, well, 100,000 doesn't sound like a lot. However, only 20,000 homes are being built each year to cope with this demand. So one big challenge that London's facing at the moment is developing what's called green belt land. So those are the fields that surround London. And increasingly, more and more of these are being converted into new housing sites. So one opportunity for London here is the development of what we call brownfield land. So brownfield land is area that's been previously developed but has now been left and abandoned. So things like old factories, for example, can be turned into new housing or apartments. Okay, but obviously that comes with some costs. So in the exam, you might be asked to weigh up opportunities and challenges then for a major city in the UK. So take a minute just to think, well, is there opportunity and challenge in London? Do the good things here outweigh the bad? Or does the bad here, the challenge, actually outweigh the good? I hope you found this video helpful.